So, Father, I thank you for this morning. I thank you for what you want to say to us, Lord. I thank you for your heart for us, how you poured your love, your forgiveness, your mercy, and your grace into our hearts. Our hearts are full of the finished work. Our hearts are full of your love and what you've done for us. And we just thank you for opening our eyes this morning. Open our hearts. Enlighten the eyes of our understanding. Teach us, each and every one of us, specifically what we need to hear this morning. You're so personal, Lord. You love intimacy with your people. So we just thank you for that this morning. Amen? Amen. So you got these handouts, but I should say you got these little books because they're like, it's like a lot of information, right? And the whole point of that is we're not going to touch on all of it, but please take it home. And there's some great stuff in there on Colossians chapter 1 that you should really look at, and 2 Peter. So I hope you just take that home with you and dig into that a little bit because it's really great. So our number one purpose, guys, is God wants us to know him. That's why Jesus came. Jesus came to bring you and me back to the Father. He wants a personal, face-to-face, heart-to-heart relationship. It's nice that we go to church, but he wants a relationship with you, first and foremost. He wants us to come directly to him and receive the meat of the Word. Meat of the Word is his voice to your heart, to your ear, to your heart. Him speaking to you personally. That's meat. That's a manjad, meat. Yeah, right? So, slide 3, brother. Brother Chris. It says, Behold, I stand at the door. He's always standing. Jesus is always standing at the door, and he's always knocking. Dave, Amy, James, he's always knocking. If anyone hears my voice and opens that door and receives me as a friend, I will come in and eat and be intimate and commune with him and he with me. Next slide, brother. So this morning I want to talk about what keeps us from opening that door. What keeps us from having an intimate communion with Jesus? What is the biggest weapon the enemy uses against us to keep us from having intimacy and hearing God's voice? One word: condemnation. It's his number one strategy to keep us, keep me, keep you from hearing Papa's voice. It's condemnation, it's sin, it's guilt, it's shame. The age-old enemy of intimacy with God. You know, the world's perception of God, the world, religion, traditions of man, the perception is this: God is holy, I'm not, and I have to try harder. God is holy, I'm not, try harder. But the remedy for that lie, God handled it. It's our spiritual location in Christ. You know, I'm always talking about Christ in you. I'm always talking about that. I drive people crazy sometimes. But look, this morning I want to talk about us, you, me, in Christ. This is where we live, guys. This is where he placed us. The Father took us out of Adam and placed us into Christ. This is where you're hidden in the cleft of the rock. The great rock, Jesus. You're hidden in that. Our lives are hidden in him, it says in Colossians. Hidden. Nothing can touch you. Nothing can hurt you in that place. Slide 5. So if you have your Bible, well, you have your notes, but turn to Colossians chapter 1. Let's read this. It says, once you were alienated from God and you were enemies in your minds. Where? In your minds. Because of your evil behavior. But now, he has reconciled you. He has reconnected you by Christ's physical body through death. Why? Why did he do it? In order to present you holy in his sight, without blemish, free from accusation, if you continue in your faith, established and firm. Jesus, the Lord Jesus came to bring us back to the Father, to original intent, to original purpose. This is our original purpose, to be in him and him in us. And he did it by means of a wooden cross on a hill with holy blood. Because of that cross, because of the blood, brothers and sisters, right now, in the mind of God, in the eyes of God, he sees you. And his picture of you is the only picture that matters. Your picture does not matter. His picture matters. And he sees you holy, blameless, and without accusation. I hope we can get into that as we go along here. But this being in Christ, Paul talked about it like over 200 times in his epistles, in his letters to the church. So I want to look at the significance of that phrase, in Christ. Most of us, deep down inside, we all know what I'm talking about. On the way here this morning, I was getting bombarded. You can't do this. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm serious. You're not worthy. You think you're going to get up there and talk to people about? That's what I'm hearing in my head. And I'm going, I'm holy. Father, thank you for making me holy. I'm blameless. I'm without accusation. Right? And I put on my identity, my true identity. But if we ask most of us, does God love us? We're all going to say, yeah, God loves me. But many of us, including myself, when we're alone, in that gray place, there's that gray place, and that there's that doubt. Especially if I've said something wrong, or I've done something wrong, or I should have done something that I should have done that I didn't do, right? There's that sense of something's not right, I'm not right. There's that condemnation, there's that guilt, there's that inferiority. There's that I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. And does God really love me? But we know where that's coming from. That's not your thought life. Christ in you, you have the mind of Christ. Those thoughts aren't coming from you. Do not put them on. Do not wear them. They don't belong to you. They don't belong to us. They don't fit. You don't look good in them. They're not in style. Do not put it on. Don't fall for the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, So, by God's grace and mercy this morning, here's what I want to do. Holy Spirit, I want you to mark in our lives this morning a brand new chapter. Then when we walk out of this building today, that we can say, that I can say, that you can say, I have been set free from guilt, from sin, consciousness, and condemnation and shame. And I know my God loves me unconditionally. Unconditionally. Amen? So John, the Apostle John said, because he loves us, God loves us because, he said, I'm messing this up. We love him. I'm sorry. We love him. We love God because he first loved us. We didn't wake up one morning with a great idea. I think I'll love God. We had to understand that he loved. We had to receive that love first. Once we receive that love, oh man, I can love him back now. I can love him back now, right? I'm never not in him. He's never not in me. No matter what I do, no matter what I say, he's never not in me. And I'm never not in him. Never. And there's no location in that area. In Christ, there's no condemnation in that area. Absolutely none. No condemnation. So Colossians chapter 2, slide 6, brother. It says, this is amazing. I love it, I love it, I love it. It says, and in him, in Christ, all of us, Christians, we have been made complete in Christ. Dear brother, dear sister, we have been made complete. Not someday. Not going to be. Not I'm getting there. Where do we get this from? Where did that logic come from? When God says, you're complete in my son. We know where it comes from. You know when I do this, you know what I'm talking about, right? The sooner we believe this, the sooner we receive this, the sooner I understand this in my heart, the faster I will grow and the faster I will be transformed. Because all that nonsense, all that junk that the enemy throws at me, the yak, 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 it just slows me down. When I drink the Kool-Aid, when I take the bait, you see? So I want to tell a story this morning. I want to tell a story that I think that'll make this really practical for us. And because many of us have sinned. I have sinned. Before I came to know the Lord, I missed the mark. And I've sinned and I missed the mark after I've come to know Jesus. I have. I think we all have, right? But guess what? We're growing up into him. We're growing up into him. In the Gospels, we see a picture of someone who was a great failure, a total screw-up, who repeatedly and relentlessly missed the mark over and over and over. Someone Jesus chose to follow him and be his disciple and one day his apostle. I'm talking about the man, Peter. I want us to get a really good look at this guy's life and consider his life and identify with his life. Slide 7. So I want to look at some of these examples, and there's a lot more. And the first one I want to talk about is, all right, the disciples are on a ship. It's night. There's a storm. It's dark. They can't see. There's someone walking on the water. There's something walking out on the water. And then they realize it's Jesus walking on water in a storm. And Peter, overzealous Peter, overzealous Peter, says, Lord, let me come out to you. And he walks out. The first human being in the world who ever walked on water besides Jesus. He's walking on water. And the wind's blowing. And the storm is all around him. And the waves are crashing. And he starts to look to the left. And he starts to look to the right. And he starts sinking hard and fast. He's going down. Help me, Lord. Jesus grabs him. Picks him up. And go to the boat. And he plays. Why did you doubt? Why did you doubt? Have you ever doubted? I have. Many, many, many times. Next example is he invites Peter, James, and John to come up to a mountain with him. Jesus does. And And Peter, wants to build 3 temples because he sees Jesus and he sees Moses and Elijah, and Jesus is on fire, man. He looks like, his face is the glory of God shining right brightly, and they all hit the ground, man. And well, we're going to build this thing for. In mid-sentence, here's a voice from heaven. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear him. Listen to him. Have you ever come up with your own great idea? Have you ever gone down ahead of God? I have. A lot of times, man. A lot of times. Jesus tells his disciples, I'm going to be arrested. They're going to take me away. They're going to torture me and crucify me. Peter's, no way, man. No way. Like, this ain't going to happen. You're not doing that. Get behind me, Satan. You're a stumbling block to me. You think like a man. You're only interested in self-preservation. Have you ever disagreed with the Lord? Thought like a man? Thought like a woman? I have. Too many times. And that's not all. There's more. Jesus asked the disciples to stay awake with him on the night of his arrest. Pray with me. Stay with me. Tarry with me. I don't want to do this alone, guys. Stay with me. Hang out with me. I know it's coming. Oh, we're going to stay up with you, Lord. What happens? They all fall asleep. Peter falls asleep. Have you ever been too tired to spend time with the Lord? Have you ever been too tired to stay up with him? I have. Many, many times. Jesus tells the 11 he's going to be taken away, and they're all going to scatter. They're all going to leave him. Peter, again. Peter, right? Some of these guys might forsake you. I will never forsake you. I will never leave you. I will die with you. You think so, Peter? You're going to deny me, not just once, but 3 times. Have you ever denied the Lord? Have you ever been ashamed? I have. He's arrested. Peter tries to follow him that night. He tries to keep his promise. I'll never leave you. But it's all coming down, man. It's coming down hard. The accuser, the tempter is on steroids. Working hard on Peter. And Peter begins to fall apart. He loses his mind. And he denies the Lord 3 times. Cursing and swearing. I don't know the man. I don't know who he is. I've never seen him before in my life. Not to a political council, not to a group of leaders, religious leaders, to a slave girl. You're intimidated by a person? Peter makes eye contact with Jesus somewhere in that scenario. And he runs off. And he weeps bitterly. Can you imagine Peter's shame and his remorse? One of the guys that said, I'll never leave you, I'll never desert you, I'll never betray you. How many times did Peter fail? How many times did he let the Lord down? Because of Peter's 3 years of failures and his sin consciousness, I believe he had a hard time. I really believe this personally. He had a hard time with intimacy with Jesus. Why do I say that? The next slide, brother. What was he afraid of? What was Peter afraid of? John 13, 21 to 26. We don't have the whole thing there, but they're sitting there the night of the betrayal. They're at the table eating together, right? And Jesus says, one of you guys is going to betray me. And they all begin to look at each other. Who's it going to be? Who is it? Which one is it? And it says, the disciple whom Jesus loved, that's John, was reclining next to him. He had his head against his chest, against his shoulder. Isn't that beautiful? Simon Peter motions to that disciple and says, ask him which one. Who is it? Who's it going to be? Imagine that. Ask him. Why doesn't Peter go to him? Could it be because of all the failures? Could it be because of all the time he let the Lord down and he said he was going to do this and he said he was going to do that? I really believe so. So, next slide, slide 9, brother. Mark 16. After the crucifixion of Peter and the others, now they're all hiding. They're behind closed doors for fear of the Jews. Mary goes to the tomb. Takes a woman, man. Takes a woman. So she goes up there. She's at the tomb. And at one point, the angel tells Mary, you are looking for Jesus, the Nazarene, who was crucified. He is risen. He's not here. See the place where they laid him. But go tell his disciples and who? The screw up. The failure. Go. He doesn't say go tell. The angel doesn't say go tell the disciples and John. Go tell the disciples and Andrew. Go tell the disciples and Peter. He's going ahead of you in Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you. Mary sees her risen master, and there's not one word mentioned about scattering, not one word mentioned about betrayal or denial, no rebuke, no correction, no nothing. No nothing, right? Go tell my brothers, in another verse. Go tell my brothers, not my failures, my brothers. I'm going to my Father and their Father. He remembers those things, those sins no more. Guys, he remembers them no more. It's amazing. Father, show us what that looks like. What does that say about me? I've messed up so many times. So Jesus wants Peter, the one who denied him 3 times, tell him I'm alive and there's not a one word of condemnation or guilt or shame or sin. It's all gone. The past is wiped out. Guys, we have to get that. The past is wiped out. Wiped out. Remembered no more. If it comes up, you know where it's from. You know where it's from. It's not your thought, and it's not Father's thought, right? He remembers it no more. He's going ahead to you in Galilee. Go see him, just as he told you. So why do we hold on to our past, guys? Why do we hold on to our old life for dear life? What's that all about? Why do we entertain it? Why do we revisit it? Why do we study it? Why do we dissect it and identify with it and wear it? Why? Why? And we call it Christian ministry. And we call it prayer. You know what it is? Flesh. It's flesh. It's not spirit. It's flesh. It's putting on what God told me to take off. God tells me, take this off. Oh, no, I want to put this on because I want to see who I was and where I came from, why I did this. What? Is that what he did with Peter? Is that what he did with John? Just saying. Just saying. God the Father makes sure that Peter, the failure, Peter the one that denied him, would never look back at his flaws, but be the first man to witness the risen Christ. Later on, Jesus sits down with the 11, and Jesus says to Peter, now that I'm here, I want to talk to you, buddy. Do you remember what you did that night? Do you remember what you said about me, that you didn't know me? Does he do that? Why? Because it was washed away by the blood of Christ. And it's remembered no more. It's remembered no more. I do a new thing. I do a new thing, God says. Won't you be aware of it? Christ in you, you in Christ. He doesn't mention it. Jesus doesn't mention it. He doesn't mention the sin or the failures. It's like it never happened. It's like it never happened. I mean, can you talk about one part? Nothing. Nothing. Who's reminding of you of your past sins and your past? Who's pulling that up for you? Why do we keep falling for that? Because we don't understand our total forgiveness. We don't understand. I don't understand how much I am loved. How much I'm loved. Guys, if that's the case, wouldn't it make sense for me to drown myself in the love and the forgiveness of God and put that on every day, every morning, all day long? Put it on, put it on, put it on. Right? He who is forgiven much, slide 10. He who is forgiven much loves much. Have we forgotten what we've been forgiven for? Have we forgotten how much we are loved? And this is where, guys, I really appreciate it if you guys, when you take this home, read Peter, 2 Peter, and you're going to see a transformation in this man that's unbelievable. When Peter sits down with Jesus, can you imagine his immense guilt and condemnation at that time? I mean, this just happened recently. How could he even look him in the eye? Think about that. How could he look? The unimaginable guilt, the pattern of failure over and over and over must have been overwhelming. Verse 10, brother. So there's two words for love I want to talk about because we're going to read this thing in John 21 here. And the first word is agape love. It's the highest form of love. It's godly love. It's selfless. It's unconditional. It's a heart devotion for another, a total heart devotion for another, a selfless devotion for another. Phileo love is great. It's brotherly love. We know where that word came from, Philadelphia, phileo, right? It's affection towards someone, right? I care about you as a friend. That's what that word means. I care about you as a friend. This is not a perfect example, but this is the example I have right now. But it's like telling someone, I love you. And you go, I like you too. Kind of, you know what I mean? It's like, you're pouring your heart out. And they come back with, yeah, I care about you too. You know, it's like, I know it's a bad example, but there's a great difference here. So in John 21, you got that up there? That's slide 11. Thank you, bro. Slide 11. Now you look in there and you see all those words for love. They're underlined, right? Now we're reading that in English. And it sounds like you love me, I love you, love, back and forth. It's going back. But these words are different. These words are different. And I'll just, as I read, I'll share that with you. When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you agape me? Do you love me selflessly, unconditionally, with godly love? Yes, Lord, he said. You know that I phileo you. I like you as a friend. I have affection for you. Jesus said, feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you agape me with that highest love? And he answers, yes, Lord. You know that I love you like a brother, like a friend. And Jesus said, take care of my sheep. The third time, he asked him, and watch this, Simon, son of John, do you phileo me do you love me like a brother? He lowers the bar for Peter. He's lowering the bar for Peter. Do you love me like a friend? And Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him a third time, do you phileo me? And he said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you like a brother. And Jesus said, feed my sheep. And then later on, he says, follow me. We read love, love, love in the English. But now, you can see what's going on here. Peter couldn't meet the bar of agape because of sin, guilt, and condemnation. He couldn't reach that high bar. Plus, he didn't have Holy Spirit yet, right? So he's probably feeling guilty. He's still condemned. Like I said, this thing just happened, right? Recently, he denied the Lord. I mean, he's looking him in the face right now, the guy he denied. And he's just being honest. He's being real. His heart's condemned. And this is what happens. When our heart is condemned, it dilutes our love for him. It cancels it out. When we're sin conscious, we tend to run away from God when we should be running toward him and jumping in his lap. At that very moment, you're jumping in, sit at the feet of Jesus, be with him. Papa loves you. He's always going to love you because you're in him and he's in you. He who is forgiven much loves much. But the one that doesn't understand that forgiveness, the one who hasn't received it, has a hard time loving. So do I really believe I've been forgiven? That's a good question. Do I really believe he loves me unconditionally? And that also pertains to forgiving yourself. So what does Jesus do? He recommissions Peter, not mentioning any of his flaws or sins. Feed my sheep. Jesus accepts Peter's lower love just as he does ours. But he gives them the keys to the kingdom. And on the day of Pentecost, Peter stands up and preaches the good news. And 3,000 souls are saved. Peter the failure, Peter the denier, spreads the gospel, opening the door for the Gentiles on top of it. God uses failures like me, like you. Peter learned something. Peter learned something, that there is now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. Like I said before, the 2 Peter, I don't know if you're on that slide. I might want to pass it, but yeah, slide 12. I'll do this really quick. Peter, in 2 Peter chapter 1, please read it. I mean, it's so awesome. He talks about God has given us all things that pertain to life and godliness, and he's given us these precious promises, right? And he talks about these qualities: faith, goodness, knowledge, self-control, perseverance, right? Godliness. And then watch this: mutual affection, that phileo love. And guess what? And then add to that phileo love, agape. So Peter's growing now. He's seeing it, right? Add to your phileo love, agape love. This is the new Peter. He's learned something. And in verse 9 and 10, he says this: he who lacks these qualities, ready? Hear this. He who lacks these qualities is nearsighted and blind. Why? Having forgotten he has been cleansed from his past sins. Cleansed. Anytime I'm in that place, I'm forgetting what I've been cleansed from. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, make every effort to confirm your calling and election. Put that on. Put on all he's made you to be. Put on that forgiveness. Put on his grace. Put on his mercy. Put on his love, right? Put on the Lord Jesus Christ. For if you do these things, you'll never stumble. Oh, I thought we're always going to stumble. He says you'll never. Isn't that amazing? This is what grace does. This is what love does. This is what forgiveness does. This is what I will remember their sins no more does. This is what the gift of righteousness does. It cleanses our conscience and transforms us. The greatest failure, the greatest disciple, and even afterwards, he still had his flaws. He was rebuked by Paul in Galatians to his face. But guess what? That didn't change who Peter was in Christ. Nothing Guys, nothing changes who you are in Christ. Nothing. Oh man, that's so freeing right there. Brothers and sisters, I'm Peter. Peter is you. Peter is me. The next time you feel the slightest speck of guilt, shame, the voice of condemnation, I have 2 words for you. Remember Peter. There was this kid that was going to study in a Bible school, and he was accepted. He had all these people behind him, and just before he was going to go in, he screws up. He does something, whatever. He does something he shouldn't be doing, and he falls into something. But he doesn't hide it. He tells the people around him, and he calls. He sends a letter to the school, to the principal, the president. I don't think I should be able to come to your school. I just don't. I've been messing up, and this is going on. And then he receives a letter back from the president, and guess what it says? Dear John, or whatever, remember Peter. Remember Peter. So in Colossians chapter 1, slide 13, I'm going to end with this. If I can get this thing to work. Colossians chapter 1, verse 21 to 23. Again, once you were alienated from God and were enemies in your minds because of your evil behavior, now he has reconnected you by Christ's physical body through death. Why? To present you holy in his sight, without blemish, free from accusations, if you continue in the faith. If you continue is not a threat. I used to read that and go, oh, I better continue in the faith or else. I really did. I used to think that. I used to read that now. Ooh, I don't know, man. I better. It's an invitation. It's saying, wake up each morning and simply believe it. That's all he's saying. Just believe it. If you continue believing, believe it. You're going to continue to be in him, and you're going to continue to be holy and blameless. Why don't you believe it and experience it and enjoy it? Right? So the word present in slide 14, the word for present is ready. It's so beautiful. It's appear. It means to appear. It means to stand by. Stand beside. Jesus is with you before the Father. To stand by, to show you off. Holy, set apart, other than, different than the world, distinct like the Lord. In his sight, love it, in his sight, before his face. Before the face of, in the eye, in the presence of, down in the eye. I love this, in someone's direct, concentrated gaze. The Father sees you holy that way. In his presence. That's where intimacy is. Without blemish means blameless, spotless, without fault, without spot, without blot, spiritually blameless, unblemished from the marring effects of sin. This is how he sees you guys. This is how he sees me. I love this. Free from accusation, not to be called into account. Irreproachable, non-convictable. When a person is properly scrutinized, he is seen as unaccused. Unaccused. Can you see yourself with him like this? If you don't, I want to have some prayer time maybe right after this. Real quick, we'll sing a song. And if you just feel like you want to be prayed for in light of this, just raise your hand. We got some people that'll pray for you, minister to you. So there's all these verses on the back of your handout, and these are the in Christ verses. And those are wonderful. So remember Peter. Remember who you are in Christ. Don't take the accuser's bait. You know what? The voice of the enemy is not still. I noticed that. Have you noticed it? It's not still like the Lord's voice. Isn't that interesting? His still small voice. And the enemy's voice is blah, blah. Wow, right? Have you noticed that? It's upsetting. His voice is upsetting. And I just want to throw this out there. If you have a thought and you wish you never had it, it's not yours. If you wish you never had it, it's not yours. And it's not Papa's. So guess where it's coming from? You can free yourself from that condemnation. Oh, I'm thinking this way. No, you're not. You just heard a temptation. You just heard something. It came on the screen of your mind and you went, oh, that's who I am. No. Does that make sense? Let's say that, guys, these truths have helped me so much because it freed me from condemnation. It freed me from that sin. It frees me. It continues to day in and day out. So remember, Peter, remember never to allow guilt, shame, or condemnation in your life again. Never even consider it. Don't put it on or wear it, but continue in the faith. So I'd like to pray and have the guys come up and we'll sing this song. So Father, we just thank you right now. Thank you for freeing us. Thank you for delivering us. Thank you that we can walk in this freedom day after day, moment after moment. Thank you that we're growing up into you, that we're growing in the grace and the knowing of you, the knowledge of God, the knowing of you every day. We'll never be the same. I'll never be the same. We are your new creation. We are sons. We are daughters. We are yours. We're your delight. We're your treasure. We're that lost ring. We're that lost sheep, that lost coin. We're that treasure in the field that you bought the whole field just so you can have that treasure. Thank you for loving us unconditionally. Why don't you stand up? Let's sing this song.